Welcome everyone to the Griffith University STEM Student Discussion Panel. My name is Damien Harris and I'll be hosting us through the conversation this afternoon. But before we get started, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are attending from today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples here today. So this webinar is being recorded and will be placed back onto the STEM at Griffith page if you registered through that website tomorrow morning. Also, if you've registered, you will receive the video along with an email right into your email inbox. Also, obviously this is a panel discussion, so we need questions. You'll find the Q&A box on the side of your screen there. If you want to ask questions throughout the panel discussion, please pop them in there. We'll do a bit of an introduction to start off with. We'll introduce all our students and then we'll move on to your questions. I also encourage you to use the thumbs up if there's a question that you think you'd also like answered, so we can make sure we get to that one. So, welcome to the STEM Student Experience panel discussion. First off, we better understand what STEM is. Hopefully, since you're all here, you probably have a good idea, but just so we're clear, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But when we talk of STEM at Griffith University, we have a very wide view of what STEM is. When you can study the STEM disciplines that we offer through our School of Environment and Science, our School of Engineering and Built Environment, or our School of Information and Communication Technologies, you can study the things that you'd probably expect to study: science, engineering, biomolecular science, IT and computer science. But we also include aviation, urban planning, architecture and industrial design, as we see those as really crossing over a lot of those boundaries of STEM. So they're also part of the discussion this afternoon. And the reason we think about STEM is, well, part of the reason we all go to university is we'd like that career at the other end. And the really amazing thing is with the STEM disciplines, they give you the skills that are going to set you up not only for the jobs of today, but the jobs of the future, the jobs that we really, they don't even exist yet. So there's careers like augmented reality designers, so you can try out some furniture in your room without hauling it in a big truck and checking out what it looks like. A human organ designer, designing human organs. So you need the skills of an industrial designer and an engineer to do the 3D printing, but also the biochemist and molecular chemistry for how to reproduce organ cells. And what about a low-level orbit space pilot? So we know these careers are going to exist. In the next few years, you'll be able to buy a ticket for about $250,000 for a low-level orbit around the Earth. But we obviously need someone to pilot those. They won't be normal pilots that you get from the airports that we have now. They'll have skills in aviation, but they'll also have engineering skills. So we're here today to talk to a bunch of students from across the Griffith Sciences. I'm also an alumnus or a graduate of Griffith University. I did a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Arts, and that double degree was recently reoffered. You can do that now as a double degree. And I've worked as a science communicator for much of my career, not just here at Griffith University, but with CSIRO, the National Museum of Australia. And I've even started and directed an international film festival, Cinema, that is still running to this day. And so I have a great passion for science, and I hope you do too. And I'm sure you'll pick up from our students that's, they also share that passion with a lot of the things they do outside of their study. There's one last thing I'd like to announce before we get started, and that is that we're still during our Griffith University open house. So we used to have the open day, which was one day which you could come along to the university and discover all of our study options. We've extended that out to 12 weeks of open house. So every Tuesday and Thursday, and yes, today is a Tuesday, from 4 to 6 p.m, you can go into the open house and have a live chat with some of our staff about your study options. We have 5 booths in the open house: aviation, architecture and construction and planning, engineering and industrial design, information and communication technology, and science and environment. So if you've got extra questions after this session, or if you have questions about the admissions process, head along to the Griffith University open house and you can find out more about that. Okay, on to the panel discussion. First off, I'd like to introduce Bill Carrot. So he is doing a double degree, but I'll let him introduce himself and we can find out a little bit more about what he has been doing at Griffith University. Bill, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. So, as Damien said, my name's Bill Carrett. I studied a double degree. My degree is in forensic science and criminology. So it's nice for me. It means I get a bit of, two different topics, which is cool. I am in 280 credit points into my degree, so that's roughly 3.5 years. So I'm in my 4th year of study. Key interests in my degree, I've taken the opportunity this year to start conducting some research as part of my final years in my science degree. So I'm working with Dr. Sally Wasef. She's an expert in ancient DNA. We're looking at so ancient DNA samples from recovered soldiers at war, and also like Indigenous people from Indigenous communities around Australia. And I'm also working with my program director, Carney Matheson, looking at the identification in forensic cases of certain individuals, using methods that people have tried to use before and couldn't quite prove that they work. So when I can get back into the lab next year, I'm trying to get back in there and see if I can make them work and do stuff like that. So that's kind of a rundown of my degree.
So, Bill, why did you choose to study a double degree?
So for me, the double degree was an interesting decision. I went into engineering straight away out of high school, and I kind of like that because I'm good at maths. I like science, so that was kind of seemed like a good choice. But then I found, for me personally, engineering was all like, obviously it's maths, but so I decided I needed to swap to something where I could get a bit more variety. So I took forensic science and criminology. It means that while the great portion of my study is in science still, which is what I'm good at and what I enjoy, I do get a bit of a break sometimes. I get to do the criminology side of things.
And we obviously know this year has been a very difficult year for everyone. So how have you found studying during this COVID period?
So yeah, as you said, obviously we all know COVID's been like a huge hurdle for everyone, and that's not we're not exempt from that. So initially, as with everyone else, weren't so sure about what studying online was going to be like. Obviously, with my with criminology, I had a bit of experience in doing online study before. I opted to do that previously, but it definitely wasn't prepared to go fully online. So when we did swap, it was a shock, and also, obviously we weren't quite adapted for it yet, so it wasn't fantastic. But we all kind of got used to it pretty quick, as I'm sure everyone's aware of. And yeah, it's great now. It works as long as you can keep a schedule properly. Lecturers upload their stuff weekly, and we get to go on, and as long as you assign a time to do your work, that it works pretty well, and I enjoy it a lot.
Excellent. Glad to see you've adjusted your skill set and have adapted. That's part of really what studying is all about. One last question before we move on. What are you hoping to do when you graduate?
So post-graduation it's a tricky thing. Obviously for me, I started engineering. I'm now doing forensic science. I don't really know where I want to go, to be honest, and that's kind of fine. There's quite a few options. Something I'm considering, obviously, a major option coming out of forensic science is to join the police, become a forensic officer, and do that route, which is fantastic. It's not really what I've always wanted to do. For me, with the opportunities I've been given in my final years to research with my program director and other staff, which has been great, I'm kind of more interested in potentially going into further research. So maybe doing honours or masters or even a PhD at Griffith with my supervisors, because that research is cool. Particularly for forensics, we work a lot with QPS. A lot of the forensic officers for QPS are trained at Griffith or by Griffith, and so a lot of the research that we conduct in forensics is done hand in hand with QPS. So that's a really big career path I'm considering at the moment when I graduate, to go continue studying and work in the forensic kind of research area. Yeah, otherwise, obviously I'm going to graduate with a science degree. So my third kind of option is just get a job in science with my science degree. And that obviously can be so many different things. As I said, the police forensics officer is a pretty easy one, but then there's also, medical science. You're not restricted to anything. You can go into agricultural science, whatever you want to do with a science degree. So that's kind of another option I'm considering.
Yeah, I think that is something that many of our students will find is there are a lot of options, and it's more about deciding which direction you want to take it. Thank you very much, Bill. We will come back to you for some more questions later on. We're going to move on to our second panelist of today. Now, someone who started engineering but has continued on the engineering path. Martin Luna Hukal. I think I might have got his name close to right. I don't know. We'll see. Martin, could you please introduce yourself and a little bit about what you study at Griffith?
Yep. Thanks for that, Damien. Yeah, you got the names pretty spot on there. Well done for that one. So yeah, my name's Martin. So I'm currently a 5th year civil engineering and science student here on the Gold Coast. So essentially, I'm one of the students that came straight out of high school into an engineering degree at Griffith. I began by being introduced to a lot of the civil engineering aspects of the engineering discipline. And as I progressed throughout my degree, I started to get a lot more of the science sort of side of the degree involved. So I've been around Griffith for quite a long time now, and I've been pretty fortunate because of that. I've had a lot of unique experiences and things like that. Mainly, I've been involved with the PASS program here at Griffith. I've also had a chance to be involved with a variety of different competitions and events that the university has either sponsored or put out. So I've had a lot of chances because of my study at Griffith to be able to really encourage my passion for science and engineering, and to get a bit of a deeper understanding of why STEM is so valuable and why I really found myself falling in love with it from a very young age, actually. So yeah, it's been a really useful few years for me so far. I get called the perennial student because I don't think anyone thinks I'm going to leave. But yeah, so that's a bit about my degree and my start at uni.
So you mentioned a couple of the unique experiences, but I know one of them was you won a scholarship. So what happened there?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate there that Griffith had partnered with a university in Thailand. They're a very prestigious postdoctoral university, and Griffith had actually had a partnership with them where I could apply for this scholarship and had the opportunity to go over to Thailand for 10 days, so nearly 2 weeks, and do a bit of a study tour there. So essentially in that study tour, I had full days of lectures, and then every couple of days I would have field trips throughout Thailand to different aspects or different areas that were involved with engineering, remote sensing, GIS, agricultural programming, and things like that, which really, it was quite beneficial to me because it was obviously a unique new experience. I had never been overseas before, but it also allowed me to really develop my love for research and my passion for different varieties or aspects of engineering that may not be, so well covered here in Australia. So it was really quite unique in the sense that I got to broaden my horizons a bit and delve into a bit of a niche kind of area of engineering.
Yeah, and I guess part of that delving into the different parts of engineering is we have work integrated learning projects. Could you explain a little bit about what work integrated learning is and what you experienced in your project?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty funny because the stuff I did in Thailand and the study tour and the learning experience there really helped me with my work integrated learning. So just as a quick summary, work integrated learning is essentially a course or 2 courses. I had to do two courses because of the double degree that I'm doing. So essentially you work with an industry partner as well as with research supervisors on a particular topic. So usually it's a topic that is of interest to you. And in this process, you liaise pretty deeply with your industry partner to achieve an outcome. So whether it's to design a product or to perform a particular research program or different, there's different sort of aspects of it. But the general idea is that it's there to equip you with the skills to allow you to be more employable when you graduate. So to be a better researcher or a better industry person, so that you're able to succeed in a STEM field and you have the training and the practice to do so, but without having to go into, kind of get thrown off into the deep end, so to say. My work integrated learning process specifically revolved around agricultural engineering. I did a lot of work with nutrient monitoring and data analysis. So I had, there was this trailer that we developed with my supervisors, so Dr. Eduardo Bertone and Professor Rodney Stewart, where we had these trailers, we able to calibrate them, we deployed them in the field, and we were one of the first groups within engineering to be able to collect high frequency nutrient data and to be able to analyze that and to develop recommendations that can protect the environment and allow us to predict the effects of extreme weather events and how they may impact the local environment based on nutrient fluxes and different water quality parameters that get heavily affected.
So you are going to graduate this year. So what are you going to do when you graduate? Are you going to leave university and get a job, or are you going to try and continue on the path in research?
Oh, it'd be too easy if I were to leave university, wouldn't it, Damien? Of course, I'm going to. So when I graduate, I will continue. I'm going to look to do a PhD in the similar field that I've been studying my research. So I found that Griffith has really a really strong research basis. So I've decided that I'll continue doing my PhD with the university and stick around for at least another 3 years since I do enjoy it so much.
Excellent. Well, good luck with your studies and good luck on your graduation, hopefully later this year. So I have to introduce our next speaker or next panelist, Pauline. Pauline is in the biomedical sciences. And Pauline, could you tell us a little bit about your experience and about your journey into Griffith? You're on mute, Pauline.
That would happen. Hi guys. Hi everyone. My name is Pauline and I am a second year biomedical science student here at Griffith. So we don't get to choose a major in biomedical science. I like to say that biomedical science is a major in itself. But particularly I am interested in genetics and molecular biochemistry, the molecular pathways in the body, their role in diseases, and how they can be manipulated to help treat or diagnose a disease.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So why did you choose biomedicine or biomolecular science?
Yeah, okay, so I knew I wanted to become a scientist and I knew that I wanted to go into research. I was really interested in diseases, in particular diseases that apply to us as humans. I wanted to learn more about the human body, how it functions, and why things happen the way they do. So I researched what programs are available. I read through a lot of program descriptions, and biomedical science just seemed like such a great fit. So for me, it was the perfect balance between science, so the background knowledge, and the clinical application, so how they can be applied in real life. I also wanted, within my undergraduate experience, I wanted to make sure that I get theoretical courses, practical lab components, as well as the freedom to actually do a research project on my final year. So biomedical science had it all.
And you had so much passion for biomedical science. What did you go and do then?
Well, I am the president and co-founder of the Griffith University Biomedical Student Association, which is GUBSA for short. I know it's a long name. Yes, Damien, I liked it so much, I made a club about it. So clubs and societies are such a big part of a university experience. And I was really surprised when I found out that we didn't have one for biomedical science, and it was something that I thought I was missing during my first year. So this year, with a group of other students, I thought, why not? Let's do it, even in the middle of the pandemic. So clubs are like an extra support network while you're at university, and it's run by students. So it's run by us, it's run by your peers. People who are interested in the same things as you and who might be doing the same things as you. So we started GUBSA because we wanted to facilitate a community for students interested in the biomedical sciences, and we wanted to promote opportunities for us as well, so for students like us. If you are going into university, I encourage you to join a student club, especially during your first year. It's almost a surefire way to make friends from day one, and those are really important during university.
So apart from starting student clubs and all your study, you're also an industry mentor. How has that helped you? Can you explain a little bit about industry mentors?
Yes, so I am a participant in the Griffith Industry Mentoring Program. I am a mentee within the program. So I found an industry mentor using that program. So an industry mentor is basically someone who is further along in their career journey, and they might already be working in a field that you are interested in. So I was very fortunate. I found a mentor who is actually a researcher in GRID, which is the Griffith Institute for Drug and Discovery, which is one of our major biomedical science research institutes here at Griffith. My mentor is amazing, and she has helped me so much. Basically, she's there to talk about her experience in the field. She's given me countless career tips and advice, and just really helped me understand what it's like to be a researcher, which is really important because that's the career that I want to do in the future. Again, if you're going into university, I really recommend that you find yourself a mentor if you're able to, or even just talk to people who are just a bit further along in their journey. I find that's really helpful.
And the last one that we have to ask everyone, what are you hoping to do when you graduate?
So kind of like Martin, I will be the perennial student. I will be here at university studying. So because I want to go into research and because I want to become a scientist, I need to do further studies. So straight after my undergraduate, I'm going to go into my honors and then into hopefully my PhD. And because this is the career I want to do in the future, I probably won't leave university.
Well, we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one lucky last student, Zachary Cripps, who's with our School of Information and Communication Technologies. Zachary, can you tell us a little bit about your studies?
Evening all, just call me Zach. That's right. So I came straight out of school straight away and went to uni. Currently I'm doing a 3-year degree of IT. I'm now in my 3rd year. I finished this semester as well, and I majored in software development. So within IT itself, you've got 3 different majors. You've got information systems, you've got network security, and you've got software development, which is what I do, as I said. The best way of describing how software development works is it's mostly the solving of problems using software and programming techniques to create a solution for something. That's what I do basically.
And so what are some of the extra opportunities you've found during your studies at Griffith?
So through my 3 years of studying at Griffith, there's been about, I'd say, 3 major opportunities I've had, or big events at least. One of them has been always participating between, for example, orientation days, helping out and voicing my opinions to help students in learning about which type of degree they want to go for, especially in IT, and what major they want to do. As well as I've joined other clubs, as mentioned by Pauline, that we had an IT club, which is currently doing now because everyone's online, which focused about learning programming techniques and how to use in robotics. That was very helpful, especially for first-year students who found it difficult in how to learning how to program in the first place. Also, one of the last things I think is one of the biggest opportunities I had was the interaction with tutors and lecturers is huge. It's completely different to how you would interact with teachers at school. It's more, one-on-one type basis and very personal. And I find learning like that is very good, especially for IT, which is a pretty intensive course, knowing how diverse and how hard it is getting into in the first place.
So you've also undertaken some work integrated learning. What are some of the extra skills you've developed during that work integrated learning?
Yeah, it's very big, especially in IT. So what I'm doing currently now is I'm doing a 13-week placement or internship with the Gold Coast University Hospital, which is just opposite of the Gold Coast campus for Griffith. I'm currently working with the Allied Health Service Division, which looks after stuff like occupational therapy and acute psychology. And my project focuses around is improving the internet, or like the system they use for communicating as well as sharing documents. So as this internship, I'm actually the project lead, so I lead the project, and that requires me to do is, for example, create documents like project plans, communicate with different stakeholders who are important, such as directors and doctors, as well as lead meetings and design techniques, as well as design techniques and portfolios which allow for the project to be completed. Now, some of the skills that you learn from this, which aren't really reflected through doing IT, are some soft skills. So, for example, leadership, so organizing meetings, as well as communication, understanding how things are being done. That's very big, especially in IT. When you leave your university, that doesn't get taught. So it's a bit hard to learn that as you go. So definitely those types of soft skills doing this internship are very big, especially.
So I understand you're part of the Honours College. Could you explain a little bit about what Honours College is and some of the benefits of it?
Of course. So Honours College is basically to provide experience for high achieving students. So students who do really well in their degree, like IT or biomed or engineering, if they do very well, so you've achieved a GPA of 6.5 out of 7, so 7 being the highest mark you can get across your grades. And they can recognize that if you get accepted into it, what they do is mostly offer opportunities for you to receive the full potential of your academics, for example. So for me, what happened was I was actually lucky enough to get an industry mentor. So in my first year doing Honours College, I was given to a software engineer from IBM. And through about a year of talking to him and meeting with him, I was able to learn some different techniques in terms of how to organize my programming skills and what I should be focusing on when I especially leave, for example, uni, and what degrees or what projects to be looking at, especially, and what opportunities I can do to further my studies in a particular field, for example. And
talking about furthering yourself, the lucky last question, what are you hoping to do when you graduate?
Yeah, that's a very big question, especially for IT, just because how diverse it is, as I keep saying. There's many fields I can go into based on my software development skills as my major. For me, at least, I want to do honours. So I want to continue furthering my studies and more or less find a particular field I want to go into. So for me, at least, it'll be out of 3 of cybersecurity, considering how bad it is now with people being online using Zoom and Team to meet with each other. Others, for example, software engineering, so it's more as designing from the ground up how programs should interact and work. And another one is doing data analysis. So recently I've done quite a few data analysis courses, and they focus about retrieving large amount of data, interpreting them, and presenting them in a way that is easily perceivable for everyone. And I found that great enjoyment at that. So hopefully I like to select one of those different types of fields and further my studies doing those.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Zach. As I said at the beginning, if you have any questions for any of our student panels or would like to find out a little bit more about STEM area interest that you're thinking of studying, please just type it into the Q&A box and we can answer it. We've had one question come in from Anne. How did you find the level of work going from school to uni with COVID? It is difficult to study online and is very different from learning in the class, especially for things like mechanical engineering, which may be more practical. Martin, it sounds like this is a question for you. So how have you adjusted going into the online mode during this COVID time?
Yeah, as I can understand, as in engineering in general, it is a very practical discipline. So I can understand the concern, especially being online with COVID. I'm not sure how it's done in other universities, but I know at Griffith, at least, they've integrated their online study pretty well with engineering. It's actually been quite seamless, if I'm honest. You do miss out on some of the practical aspects. That's a given because we're not on campus, but a lot of lecturers have still found ways to demonstrate the practical aspects even through an online medium, either through interactive websites or interactive software and things like that, so that you can still kind of get some form of feel for the practicality of engineering. In terms of the level of work going from school to uni, it's as difficult as you make it. So if you're going to put in your hours and study and really dedicate yourself to your degree, then university can be it can be a lot of fun. It can be really good, and you can learn a lot. So it's obviously always going to be a bit difficult when you have transition periods, particularly with COVID. It does make it a bit difficult, but I think given the circumstances, I could probably say it's probably been as easy or as streamlined as it could have been, given everything that we've had to endure throughout these troubling times.
Has anyone been back onto campus for practicals at the moment yet? Pauline, how's that been?
Yeah, so I'm very lucky. We were allowed back on campus this trimester. So as part of biomedical science, we do lab components as well, which I mentioned before. Really important for me because I want to work in the lab in the future. So we usually have lab components in trimester 1 this year as well. Unfortunately, that was cancelled because of COVID, but we're back now this trimester. And to be honest, it's been great. It's been great to be back in the lab. As far as transitioning to online studies, I have to say it definitely has its challenges, especially to begin with. So you definitely have to adjust maybe the way you study, but it differs person by person, to be honest. So for me, I had to be really strict with myself with my scheduling. So you really have more control over your day and your week and how you study, but you do have to have some self-control. So it's really easy to keep watching lectures later, but obviously they all catch up eventually. But other than that, like the materials are all the same. It's just all online. It's just a matter of self-discipline, I think.
Thanks for that, Pauline. One of the things that you might have noticed in there is we often talk about trimesters. For school students, they'd be used to the semester, as in half the year, but at Griffith we use trimesters. So there's 3 of them. So first, second and third trimester. The first and second ones are sort of the more traditional semesters, but the third trimester is over the summer period where many people often take a holiday, but you can actually take some study, and that allows students to adjust their study regime so they can actually take a few courses during the summer. So yeah, you might hear that from a few of our students, the trimester. So it's just another flexible way we can let our students undertake their studies. Megan has asked a question. What is a common misconception people have about undertaking a STEM degree? Who'd like to have a go at that one? Oh, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, a common misconception I think that people might have coming out of school is that, like, oh, I either didn't do any science in school or didn't do super great in chemistry or biology or whatever. That's not a prerequisite for science degrees. Like, most of them only have a Maths B prerequisite. So if you didn't do chemistry or you didn't do biology or whatever you didn't do in school, unless you're doing like specifically health science, I believe some require chemistry. If it's really what you want to do, you can absolutely still get in. I know very, very many people who haven't done any science in school and went into science degrees, and sure, it can be a bit of a struggle, but you can definitely, if that's what you want to do, you can still turn that around and learn those first year chemistry things, because I think you'll probably find that a lot of first year science is in large revision of year 11 and 12 science. So that's kind of for people who didn't do science in school, and it's definitely still an option. And the other thing is, science students don't necessarily have to be, the highest of high achievers, right? Like, you can definitely apply yourself to the best of your ability, but also use the time to apply yourself in other areas of life, extracurricular things like that. You don't have to be, straight A's, only study, have no life type of student to be in science at all. No.
And just while we've got you here, Bill, part of applying yourself, we noticed there's a big pass on your shirt. Could you explain a little bit about pass leaders and how they support students?
Yep, so I am a pass leader. I became a pass leader this year, along with a couple of the other guys that are also pass leaders. So PASS stands for Peer Assisted Study Sessions. So basically the idea of PASS is that if you do well in a course, then you'll get contacted by the organization to sign up as a PASS leader. And the idea is that we run sessions every week for students that are currently doing that course. And the idea is that because we're peers, we're still obviously students studying our degrees, we get a different kind of perspective that maybe lecturers and tutors don't. And we prepare all of our own sessions. And the idea is that it's not a teaching session. We are peer assisted study. So it's much like study skills you would usually use in your own study. Just we kind of prepare them, prepare activities for you to do, but it's not at all like being taught. It's much more like assisted study, where you get the study materials and you work through them at your own time during the session. And with your peers, that's a big thing, is that we try to get people to interact in the classroom when we're on campus. Online, we're still doing that. It's a bit of a struggle, but we're getting there. So again, that's kind of a unique perspective that we've had as PASS leaders, seeing both the student perspective of being online and the presenter perspective. And so that's what PASS is. We're trying to go for it.
And I was just going to bring in Martin here, because Bill started being a PASS leader this year, and Martin, who's been at the university apparently forever. So what's your experience with being a PASS leader?
Yes, so I started as a PASS leader after my first year of uni, so that was 4 years ago now. So I've been involved with the program, mainly with the engineering courses. So I do a lot of the math courses that engineers have to take. And essentially, a lot of what Bill said is pretty spot on, actually. I don't need to add too much to it. The only extra thing is that as a PASS leader, when you get really involved with the program, you can become a senior leader, which is my role now. So essentially that role is where you get to work with other leaders to help them to develop themselves professionally and personally, so that they are more employable and more better prepared to enter different workforces when they graduate or when they seek different employment opportunities at university. So I've had the opportunity to be able to work with a whole range of talented students and to be able to help them to develop themselves into real professionals that have gone on to do really great things in their industry. So I don't just work with other engineers, I get to work with, people like Zach and Bill, who are completely different majors to what I'm doing, but it's a great opportunity because you get to learn about how to interact with people, how to, work with others, and how to kind of make yourself a more well-rounded student.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's the kind of amazing thing. All these guys are undergraduate or in their first degree students, and but they're already there helping other students. So we have another question that's come in, and I believe this one will be for Pauline. I'm not quite sure, but what are the kinds of lab components? So I'm guessing, what kind of practical labs have you had to do during your degree so far?
Yeah, so all of our lab components, and I think this is actually one of the misconceptions again about STEM, is that it's all theory, whereas we actually do a lot of practical things in science, which is fantastic. That's really what I like. So all of the lab components I've had are tied to a theoretical background. So whatever I am learning in a course, there's usually a lab component to go with that to really help solidify concepts and ideas. So just an example, this year I am doing a biotechniques lab, which is basically training for the future in the career that I want to do in research. So we do, for example, basic solutions and dilutions. We purify proteins. I don't know how to say this. So we purify proteins and we analyze proteins. We also do PCR with DNA, which is, you know, really, really amazing technique that we're seeing now with COVID. We get to do that in the lab, which is awesome. We get to modify DNA. We get to play around with DNA. We do microbiology labs as well, where we get to look at bacteria and grow them and analyze them. So yeah, plenty. And it kind of differs as well for every STEM degree. So mine obviously is focused on biomedical science, but lab components in engineering will also exist, and they'll be slightly different, obviously, but yeah.
Excellent. And you answered some of these questions, so I'll throw this one across to Zach. So how have your hands-on experiences complemented your theoretical study?
That's a very big question, actually. In IT, especially in IT, as I keep saying, it's very diverse. It is. So for example, for my background, which I do software development, so all it is coding and programming, basically. My hands-on experiences are very important, especially coding. So that could be interpreted different ways. So one way could be, for example, when I'm doing internship. So when I'm doing internship, actually using the stuff I've learned in actual lectures and workshops to assist in an actual huge government organization to help them better themselves, become something better than they were originally. So basically what I'm trying to say is the theoretical study I've learned so far in university has definitely helped me, especially in doing internships, and that's why I am now. That's how I got into, for example, to honors college. It's how I got these opportunities because, especially in IT, where everything's literally hands-on theoretical stuff, it's very helpful, especially in the real world. Definitely. When you're doing, for example, laboratories which are basically workshops where you solve problems with other students or work together to build upon theories, for example, they're very hands-on as well. So you'll be interacting with other students and your tutors to basically better understand your theory. And like I said, that could then help you further in your future, for example.
So how long till you sort of did your first hands-on experiences? Was it only this year, or was it in first year where they started putting those theoretical skills to the test?
Oh, by golly. First year, definitely. They always, especially in IT, they always like to use different scenarios, especially like real life scenarios, which you then had to apply what you've learned definitely in lectures and classes to that. So it ramps up definitely. So in your first year, you kind of get some hands-on experiences and where you get to use your theories to solve problems that are like real life problems. But it's but definitely as you get through years, year 1, 2, and 3, it scales up significantly when you get your third year, where you do, for example, huge group projects of huge tech companies, or for example, do internships with a hospital like I'm doing, where you it's more or less focused on your own skills, like for example, soft skills of being a leader in IT, especially. So like I said, it's like in mathematical terms, like an exponential graph where it starts small and it goes incredibly high as the years go on.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Zach. We've got one that I'm not sure who'll take this one. So it's another anonymous question. Any advice to people considering a double degree? I know Bill and Martin are doing doubles. Who would like to take it? Bill?
Yeah, sure. So double degree is a fantastic option if it suits you. I'm sure Martin will be able to expand on this, but for me, as I said earlier, the reason I chose double degree was because I felt like I needed some kind of break. You know, I really enjoy science. I wanted to do science mostly, but the sociology, well, criminology, which is obviously sociology, social science, was there as like a bit of a different perspective. It's more of like it's like an arts kind of degree, so it's less about, you know, numbers and maths and chemicals all the time. It's more about sociological perspective. So we're looking at how people interact and things like that. So that's why it was appealing to me. Obviously, with forensic science, criminology adds to that degree. They go very nicely hand in hand, and a lot of the electives have like some sort of interaction carryover. So that's nice. But it's definitely a great option if you want to have some sort of more diversity in your study. That's kind of why I took it.
Yeah, and I will also second that motion for a double degree. So I did a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Arts in film production, so very much on the art side of things, but it allows you, yeah, as I agree with Bill, it gives you sort of two brains. So it's part of your time spent in a very scientific way, and then you have a creative outlet as well. So, and then yeah, you try and bring them together. So I did that around starting a science film festival. So I'm very much in favour of double degrees. And we've just had a question there that we've answered in the Q&A about double degrees in biomedical science. So you can have a look there for those. But Lavinia is also interested in lots of different things, because she's asked the next question is, what is the key difference between the types of engineering? So Martin, I think this one's over to you.
Yep, no worries. So engineering is a very broad part of STEM. So overall, engineering focuses on the design, development, implementation, manufacturing, and different sorts of implementations or integrations of planning with the natural world. So at Griffith, we have a lot of engineering degrees. So I'm taking civil engineering, which in its own right is quite broad as well. We have, you know, sub majors in structural engineering, coastal engineering, water engineering, geotechnical engineering, and so on. So it's quite broad, even in civil on its own. But in terms of the overarching degrees, I'll give you, I guess, a bit of a summary on each. So with respect to civil engineering, it's more focused on the built environment, so development of, you know, structures, bridges, coastal environments, waterways, hydrology, things like that. So everything to do with how we design for the built environment. With respect to mechanical engineering, that's more focused on things that are dynamic. So civil, we like to focus on non-moving things. We don't want things to move. But in mechanical engineering, we focus on dynamics, so engines, motors, pumps, different things that move or have a purpose which can, you know, empower machinery. We also have electrical and electronic engineering, so that focuses a lot on electronics, things to do with how electrical circuits work in both small scale and large scale, how robotics, so that's tied with mechatronics, different things that require, you know, electrical components or an understanding of electricity. We have environmental engineering. Environmental engineering really focuses heavily on, you know, the study of the environment to make sure that what we're designing, what we're implementing is not going to, you know, have an effect on an ecological system 30 years down the track, or we're not going to, you know, kill the last living plant that exists in a particular region. So that's what environmental focuses on. And then we've got things like software engineering, which is to do with software and development of applications and technology and so on. So Griffith, I think Gali has posted there that we do have a lot of engineering disciplines at Griffith. So they are very unique, and each one of them has their own specialty. But yeah, we definitely have a lot on offer that pretty much anything you're interested in, we could probably cover for you.
Yeah, and on that double degree path, you can obviously partner that engineering with IT or science, and that'll give you a very, to cross your civil engineering into environmental science or business, and that gives you, more strings to your bow. A question. Oh, Martin wants to jump in there as well.
Yeah, just on that note, you kind of prompted me there. So I am doing the double degree with engineering and science. So it is a really good complement to have the double with engineering in particular, because a lot of the aspects of science are pretty fundamental to engineering, but you don't explicitly get taught them in engineering. So it is nice to have the two subjects that complement each other really well.
Thank you very much, Martin. I think we've got another one for Pauline that's come in, another question. So does anyone know, Pauline hopefully does, what kinds of practical work involved with the Bachelor of Medical Sciences? Is it more theory or practical? Pauline. Oh, Pauline, you're on mute again.
My mic will not stop muting itself. Thank you, Damien. Okay, so with the Bachelor of Medical Science, it's slightly different to the Bachelor of Biomedical Science in that it is accelerated. So Bachelor of Medical Science is only for 2 years, and it's particularly used by people who want to go straight into the Doctor of Medicine program. Whereas Bachelor of Biomedical Science give you a bit more flexibility, and it's over 3 years as opposed to 2 years. As far as what practical work is associated with medical science, it's pretty much the same as biomedical science. So you also get your lab components. So the lab that I'm doing this year, you also get in medical science. And you also do a large medical science lab, like capstone lab at your second year, at your final semester in your second year. So you also, I believe, have the option, because I have the same option and it's pretty much the same degree, you also have the option to do research projects as well. So you will have to do it, I believe, during your summer semesters, not necessarily on your normal trimesters, just because it's already quite full on. But yeah, that option is also there.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much for that, Pauline. Just checking for more questions. Sort of a theme that's come through some of the questions and through some of the comments is sometimes students can feel the pressure while they're studying, and especially during COVID, it has provided enormous challenges for many students. And so what are some of the activities that a student can do if they feel under pressure during their studies? And I think, Pauline, you might be involved in some of these programs.
Yeah, so Griffith's quite amazing. There is definitely a lot of support available to you, especially during your first year. Like you really feel the support from the university, and you really feel that they want you to succeed. It's very fantastic. One of the things that we have, besides the PASS program already, which Martin and Bill has talked about, we also have other academic mentors who are also peers, so who are also students like us, who again has achieved a high grade and might be able to help us with some academic issues that we might be having. We have both, so I'm part of the boat mentors, who basically give you a hand if you might be feeling the pressure from university and might be falling behind. So, we review that at the end of every year or at the end of every semester, and basically we just give you a call, or we do like meetings and just help you figure out what resources are available to you or how we can resolve the issues that you may have. Obviously, you also have all of your program director and your course conveners and your program support officers, who really are more than happy to talk to you, to give you a hand, especially if you're falling behind on content or anything like that. Even with finding a mentor, you don't necessarily have to go through the honors college or through the industry mentoring program to find a mentor. Sometimes talking to your lecturers, who, let's not forget, they're already in the field, that's why they're teaching it, is also a good idea. So plenty of support available.
Excellent. I think that's a very positive note to finish up today's discussion. Thank you very much to all of our students, and thank you very much to you, the audience, for giving us some wonderful questions. So I guess we'll do a roll through, and starting with Bill, thank you very much. Shoot Bill up. Martin, thank you. We'll talk to you again soon when you're a PhD doctor. And Pauline, wonderful questions answering, and you're not on mute for once.
No.
And Zach, thank you so much, and good luck in the rest of your studies. And I really do thank our students for giving our time this afternoon. If you'd like to find out more about some of our wonderful student experiences, as you can tell, our students from across all the degrees we have get up to some amazing experiences, not just within their degree, but also volunteering for some amazing programs, and also giving back to other students. So if you want to have a look and some videos and a bit more about what our students do get up to, we have a website called STEM at Griffith. You can go along there, and there's lots of articles from all different parts of the university, from the sciences, so architects through to urban planners, aviators through to biomolecular scientists, sharing their stories there, and you can find a little bit more about studying at Griffith. If you have some more questions or have some really specific ones about how you want to study, the open house is now open. As I mentioned, open house is like our open day. It is open until the second week in October. It's open 24 hours a day, but between 4 and 6 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So right now, there are people in the booths that can answer your questions. So head along to one of the booths, and you can type in a question there and even go into a video chat. But there's also people in the scholarship booth, the international booth, and the admissions, just to answer all of those questions. And you can pick up study guides and find more information out about studying at Griffith University. Also, after that, if you'd like a bit more information, you can always go through to our website. And between 9 to 5, Monday and Friday, you can call the number that's there and ask us a question. We can book you in for a one-on-one chat to see how you'd like to enter studying at Griffith. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much to our students. I really enjoyed your stories. And that is all we have for this evening, and I hope to see you at Griffith next year.